Okay, welcome to part two. I told you I was going to run out of time. So this is part two, and I'm going to pick up just where we left off. I had just read to you this little introduction of the progressive era. So this was the time when people wanted to start making changes. Let's take a look at some of the changes that are happening. So we have technological changes. Like trains, telephones, electric lights, harvesters, and vacuum cleaners. This is the stuff we heard about in that Industrial Revolution video. And then what was the effect on people? Well, middle class families began to have things that they never had before. Things like washing machines and kitchen appliances and nice furniture and clothing. So they're starting to enjoy the benefits of the Industrial Revolution. And most people benefited. Most people like the middle class. But there were still some people that could not afford these things. They could not get good jobs. And they were often left out of things. So what to do about that? All right. So some things were good, but not for everybody. Things were looking up for many people, but not for everyone. There were many groups that were left out of the good times. They included miners, child laborers, immigrants, and slum dwellers. The progressives tried to take the old rural values and make them work in a new urban order. They got involved in their government. They helped public schools grow and educate children and worked to improve the lives of workers. They fought against monopolies and against wasting resources. So these progressive people put aside solving the problems of racial prejudice right now so they could deal with these other problems. And this will come back later as we go through history. We're gonna see how putting racial prejudices to the side causes more problems than it does help. But so these are the same groups of people we keep seeing over and over again who are having a hard time. They're not enjoying this industrial revolution like most of the other country. Okay, so in order to make important changes in our country, the progressive movement finds that in order to do that, we need to change a little bit about our government and how it works, and to make the power of the people more important than it has been up to this point. So they decide that we need to change the way that we run elections. Okay, so here's a couple more definitions you might want to be jotting down here in your journal. You can pause the video anytime to do that. So they came up with this idea of a direct primary, which allows the people to choose the candidates for an election. So I think we kind of touched on this before. Up until this time, when there was an election, whether it was a presidential election or a local election, many of the powerful, rich people were the ones who chose the candidates. And of course, if those are the people making the choices, they're going to choose somebody who's going to benefit them. Well, the progressive movement sought to change that. So instead of having these powerful people select candidates, we're going to have something called a direct primary, where people go to the voting booth and they pick the candidates that are going to run for specific offices. Another thing they changed was the opportunity for voters to have important topics addressed in their local government. So they can petition to have some kind of topic or measure, which they call an initiative, put on a voting ballot. So it could be a question or an idea for something, or a proposed change that they want to see in their local area. And then the voters, they hold something called a referendum, which is a special election to vote for or against this new idea. Before this, only lawmakers could make these changes. And remember, many of those lawmakers are being chosen by these powerful, rich people. So with these two changes in our election process, it gave more power to everyday people. So this is what happened. The 17th Amendment to our Constitution made a major change where it said now voters will choose their own senators for Congress instead of having the legislators choose them. So we get to pick now who we send to Washington to vote on things for us. Up until now, those people were chosen by the local powerful people. So now everybody gets to choose. Okay. Other reforms that were fought for by the progressive included the secret ballot. Now, people could keep their vote a secret. Up until now, when you went to vote in the voting booth, people stood over your shoulder and watched who you were voting for. And many times, people were pressured into changing their votes because everyone could see who they were voting for. After the 17th Amendment, your vote is now private. Nobody can see it. Okay? So all of these things made our government more democratic because more people became involved in making decisions. All right, I want you to pause again and write these words in your journal. I just explained what they were. I want you to rate the definitions. This is something you will most possibly see on a quiz or a test. So pause your video, and then whenever you're done, come on back. All right, so now we have a couple of questions here. Which of the following was not a change made as a result of the progressives during this era? Was it the secret ballot, the 17th Amendment, direct election of senators, breaking up of monopolies and trusts, the end of Jim Crow laws, or the end of child labor? Which one do you think was a change not made during this time period? All right, if you said the end of Jim Crow laws, you are correct. Good job. All right, you're almost finished, guys. You're almost finished. What you need to do now is complete Unit 4, Lesson 9, graded assignment in your online school. When you finish that, come back to the recording so you can hear the next step. What's next? Here's the last thing for today. You're going to follow the link that will pop up on your screen here to a Google form. This will be your next graded assignment, Lesson 10. It is not in your online school. It is a Google form. You are going to be answering a question. I want you to take your time and put some effort into this. Good sentences, correct grammar and spelling. Do your best work. When you are finished with this, you are finished with all of your history work. I will put an announcement up for you on Wednesday morning. But for now, that's it. Have a happy Thanksgiving. And I will see you back on November 28th.